So, you're planning to teach in the US? Before you pack your bags and board on your plane, there are 10 things you absolutely need to know if you want to achieve some success teaching in the US. Hi, I'm Jerome, a teacher from the Philippines now teaching here in the US. And honestly, my transition to teaching here was quite challenging. It could have been a lot better had I known these things well in advance. So in this video and in this whole series, I'm sharing the most important lessons I've learned firsthand, plus tips and real stories from other international teachers who've made some success teaching here in the US. So whether you're just starting your application or you already have your job offer, these insights will help you avoid rookie mistakes, adapt faster, and thrive in your first year and beyond. So let's get you classroom ready the right way. Number 10, the US Federal System of Education. So here's the thing. If you're coming from the Philippines, where the Department of Education, or DepEd, is the almighty, all-seeing, one policy to rule them all kind of system, you might find the US education structure, a bit like organized chaos. Back home, DepEd makes the rules and everyone follows. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, same holidays, same lesson guides, same uniforms. In other words, it's centralized. But here in the US, each state is like its own kingdom. And even inside that kingdom, school districts run their own little empires. So let me show you just two areas to illustrate the difference between the DepEd and the federal system. First is teacher salaries. Second, school practices. Let's talk about teacher salaries. In the Philippines, teacher 1 earns the same salary everywhere. Let's say 40,000 pesos whether you teach in Makati or in Tawi-Tawi. But in the US, it's like a buffet. A first-year teacher in New York can earn way more than one in Mississippi. And even within the same state, like California, teacher salaries in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and let's say Sacramento, totally different. Why? Because local tax revenues, cost of living, and district priorities all play a huge role. To put it in Filipino terms, imagine if NCR were a US state. A teacher in Makati could earn more than one in Quezon City, depending on which district has the bigger income and allocates a bigger budget for education. School practices. In the Philippines, when DepEd says no classes today, everyone, and I mean everyone, enjoys the break. In the US, school closures depend on your district. Each district creates its own academic calendar, when to start classes, when to have breaks, and when to close for emergencies. Even teaching expectations vary. If the US system were applied to Cebu, it might look like this. Schools in Lapu-Lapu City, they might ask you to write detailed daily lesson plans. Wow, good luck. Mandawi City schools, they will give you ready-made lesson plans. Just pick one and teach. Wow, bless them. Cebu City schools, they could even throw in a 50,000 pesos sign-in bonus. Wow! Meanwhile, in Talisay, they can only afford you a smile. Good luck. So why all these differences? They're because of local control. Each district makes its own decisions based on priorities and budget. And what does that mean for you? Your teaching experience in the US could range from, wow, this is amazing, thank you Lord, to, wait, is this really what I signed up for? That's why understanding this decentralized setup is essential. It impacts your pay, your workload, and yes, even how many whiteboard markers you get. Number 9, standardized curriculum. You might be wondering, okay, so salaries, school practices, teaching expectations all vary. But what about the curriculum? Is it the same everywhere? The answer? Not really. Each state sets its own curriculum standards. So yes, there's structure, but it looks different across the 50 states. And even within a state, districts might interpret and apply those standards in their own way. So imagine again if NCR were a US state. It would have its own curriculum different from Calabarzon or Central Luzon. Then inside NCR, Pasig, Makati, Quezon City could each decide how to roll out that curriculum in their schools. So even if you're teaching grade 6 math in 2 neighboring districts, your lesson plans, pacing guides, and let's say resources could look totally different. Understanding these differences, crucial. It will save you from complaining or comparing and will help you to just be more focused on your teaching. Number 8, standardized testing. Now you might ask, how does a state ensure its curriculum is being followed? How do they check if students are actually meeting standards? The answer? Standardized testing. Each state develops its own assessment system. For example, Texas uses STAR, the state of Texas assessments of academic readiness. I have some friends teaching in Texas, but here in Virginia where I teach, Virginia uses SOL or Standards of Learning. These tests are actually given at the end of the school year and focus on core subjects like English, math, and science. And here's the thing, standardized testing in the US is taken very seriously. Strict rules, tight security, clear laws protecting the process. Teachers caught violating protocols, they can lose their teaching license or even face jail time. Students caught cheating, serious consequences too. So yes, these tests aren't just academic, they're professional and legal responsibilities. So, if you're planning to teach in the US, there's a strong chance your subject is part of this testing. Knowing this in advance, it gives you clarity, helps you prepare more effectively, and sets you up for success in the US classroom. So, my fellow global teachers, especially my fellow Filipinos, these are just 3 of the biggest things you need to know before boarding that flight to the US. Your teaching experience, including your life here, could look very different depending on the district you land in. That's why it's important that you know these things in advance to help you adapt faster. And once you settle into your district's way of doing things, everything gets more manageable. And don't stop here. In part 2 of this series, we'll continue counting down the top 10 things you need to know about teaching in the US, starting with number 7. Trust me, those are can't miss. This is just the very first video of this channel. So if you found this helpful, and to help the channel, subscribe, like, and tap that bell icon so you won't miss part 2. Thank you so much for watching. Maraming salamat po. See you in the next one. Laban mga Pilipinong Global Teachers.